All right. Thank you, everybody, for welcoming me. It's the first time I'm going to do this in English, so please bear with me. But it's good to be back here. I was actually a student here many years ago. It's much nicer now than it was before, that's for sure. So just a short question. Who knows what Bitcoin is? Raise your hand. 1, 2. Who knows what an NFT is? 1, 2, 3. Nice. We're getting here. And who knows what blockchain technology is? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we got the bearing. For those who don't know me, I'm pretty much most known for being an early adopter of blockchain technology. I was mining Bitcoin on my gaming computer back in 2010. And what many people know me perhaps most for is that I thought it was a brilliant idea to spend 1,500 Bitcoin on buying a cup of coffee that arrived broken. So, and I keep missing my point here. That is probably the reason why I am here, because the lesson I learned is that today, if I hadn't bought that broken coffee cup, I would probably have stacked up somewhere around 360 million Norwegian kroner today. And the thing I didn't know back then is the difference between what is money and what is fiat currency. Many people are, let's say, kind of, they are fooled to believe that money is actually the paper currency or the available money that you have in your bank account. That's what we call fiat currency. And the value of that money is actually not controlled by us here in this room. It's controlled and manipulated to fit the economic situation, for example, here in Norway, or currency situation that we are into. The true wealth that we have is actually your time and your freedom. And money that fiat currency money is just a tool for you guys to trade your time for a service or something else. It contains and stores your economic energy until you are ready to deploy it. That is fiat currency. Money is I don't know, but when I push the down button here on this PC now, it continuously goes to the top. We'll just bring. As I told you, fiat currency is actually designed to kind of steal your wealth away, because when we get in a sticky situation, let's say there's a war or something like that, the central banks, they have the ability to print more money. And when they do that, they actually dilute the value of the currency, the money that you have in your bank account. It gets worthless. And the reason for that is if you go way back in time, before we had the currency and money, we were doing what's called barter trading. It means in a small village, I will have 4 apples and I will trade it for, let's say, 2 fish. And we will trade this. And the value of the fish and apple will actually be on a demand and supply based on, and a little bit of fair guessing. It's really stupid to have the computer all back here, but okay. Yeah. Even have the clicker. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time now to try to explain the difference between currency, fiat currency, and what is true value and money. And the reason is because to have the need for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, you need to understand the difference, and it's not taught in ordinary schools. I've been speaking to bankers, and they don't even know what fractional reserve is, for example. It means that the central bank lends out money to other banks so they can lend it out to you guys to stimulate the economy. So this barter trading that I was talking about, we can trace that back all the way to the very beginning of the writing. We had brick mortars where they, for example, said that I traded one fish for 10 apples with Even. That is actually some of the very first written, and it was written on clay bricks it is like a dual ledger. It means you put something in and you put something out. And this is actually the foundation for the accountants that we are doing today. It's like called dual entry bookkeeping. So roughly 5,000 years ago, the Egyptians started using gold and silver as the predominant form of currency. They made coins that was made of electrumia, and they put a stamp on it, striking on it, to show what denomination it was, what's the value of it. But there was, but still, even though they had these gold pieces, electrumia, this was to show what the purchasing power is. This was still not money, and here's why. The pieces of gold and silver, they were in different sizes. They had different weight and had different purities. So it was not yet interchangeable. It means that the piece I got from this guy is not the same the piece I got from that guy, and I couldn't give it to you as the same value as I traded with those two. So therefore, there was trading with those with these gold pieces, electronium, as a medium of exchange. It was kind of a little bit of a guessing game when they're going to settle it. During the times, humans have experimented with different types of money. There have been bamboo sticks, there have been stones, they have actually Caesar, he used salt as money, and there have been a lot of different stuff that they have been experimenting with. But finally, there was agreed upon by the mankind that gold is a store of value, and they agreed about it, that gold, that's the thing, that's the thing we agree. There are some people that still use it. If you go to Sahara today, you will see they are using salt blocks and trading that for camels, just to give you an example. Fiat currency, on the other hand, that is a medium of exchange. It's a unit of account. It's portable, and let's see. And oh, I got one here. It's euro. So it's a unit of account. This one is 20 euro. It's portable. I can fit it with me. And it's somewhat durable. You know, I can, oops, then it gets a little bit less worth, you know. And it's also something called fungible. Portable, durable, and divisible. It means you can divide it. It's probably most self-explanatory, but fungible, I don't know, it's not so many people that know what that means. Fungible basically means that if I give you this 20 euro, if I give it to you, this has the same value if you pass that one on to the next guy. So for you, between me and you, that is 20 euro, and we can buy something for it, and it has exactly the same value for you. So when it comes back to me, you have purchased the same services or traded the same value. You understand? There is one downside with this currency, and that is what many people get confused about. And as I told you, financial planners, bankers, and even your accountants, they don't understand the difference between currency, fiat, and money, which is gold, that the Egyptians started back in the days. Actually, back in the days, the banks were not allowed to give out currency without having gold in the bank. We went away from that in 1971. It's called the gold standard. So the thing is that the government, or more precisely, the central banks, they can print more fiat currency and dilute the currency supply. It means that when they print more money, the value that we exchange is nominated still in 20 euro, but what you can buy for it will be worth less. Everybody, does anyone know about inflation? Have you heard about it? Does it affect you? Yeah, because when I exchange 1 hour for working for you, and you pay me 20 euro, the goods and services I buy for those items are getting more expensive. They diluted the value of this fiat currency, and you are not giving me more pay. So I have to work more to earn this currency to get a service or product I need. And so if you go back to the barter economy that I told you about, that you can exchange something that you did, eggs or service, the same happens to fiat currency. The more they print, the less value it gets. So I don't know, you know, all have seen a dollar bill. It has, since the last 50 years, lost more than 98% of its purchasing power, what you can buy for it. And that is because it's no longer backed by gold. There are many other fine economics ideas that we practice to get this system. I'm not going to dig into that, but I can tell you that basically the grand scheme of the economy for making currency is designed by two guys back in the days. Another key difference between currency and money, which is gold or an asset, Take, for example, gold. We know that the supply of gold is somewhat predictable. We know that every year it's like 2,500 to 3,000 tons of gold are digged up. So that is supply and demand. And it stores a huge amount of purchasing power in a pretty small unit. It means like a small, tiny piece of gold can buy you actually a lot. Gold, it doesn't corrode, it doesn't get broken, like this one. And then my daughter is calling. And what is funny that most people don't think of is that gold that the Egyptians dug up 5,000 years ago, it's still in circulation today. And has the same properties as 5,000 years ago. Bitcoin, that some of you guys have heard of, it was the very first and today is the biggest cryptocurrency in value. You can basically transfer any size of value and purchase power in just 300 to 400 bytes of data. I don't know if everybody here is so good about computers, but to put that in perspective, I'm not talking about megabytes or gigabytes or even kilobytes. It's bytes, and 1 byte is actually 8 zeros and 8 numbers with ones and zeros, and is used for the computer, most computers, to represent one letter or capital. And what is so very nice with Bitcoin is that you can, with even that small amount of data, you can basically transfer billions of dollars in currency or purchasing power in 10 minutes all over the world. And it's not affected if its bank is open in Germany and the bank is closed in Australia because of the time zones. It still works. And even better property that Bitcoin has is that it is a protocol with a set of rules. And so it's digital and decentralized, so it cannot be altered or changed. The protocol cannot be changed. So now that you know a little bit of difference between money and currency, I'm going to explain very overview of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a form of digital currency that eliminates the need for central authorities, such as banks and intermediaries, for you to exchange value. It means, for example, when I want to pay for my coffee shop here, I don't need Nets to be the intermediary. I don't need DNB to make sure that Nets works, and so on. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer. And it's decentralized. It basically means that so Bitcoin consists of nodes and miners all over the world. And even though if USA loses internet connection, or half the globe loses internet connection, as long as there is one node running the full copy of the ledger, I will talk a little bit more of that later on of Bitcoin, then Bitcoin still has value, and it's still impossible to fiddle with it or make a fake transaction. all the transaction on the Bitcoin ledger is authenticated through what is called Bitcoin's proof of work consensus mechanism. And it rewards miners for validating all the transactions. So there are computers all over the world, several hundred thousand actually, miners that validate and make sure that the ledger, the history of all the transactions of Bitcoin since day one are intact. It all started back in 2009, where an anonymous person or team got fed up with how the banks and central banks kept diluting people's money, and how the ordinary taxpayer, every time they have to rescue the banks. Most people don't know it, but we have actually rescued the banks many, many times. 2008, there was a financial crisis over in the USA. We in the Norwegian Oil Pension Fund have a lot of money invested in those banks, and those banks were going basically haywire, lending out money. You didn't even have to prove that you had income, you still get to lend money. And the reason why is that the housing market in the USA, they were booming. So if you were just, I'm going to buy a house, I will lend you the money, because they thought of it so secure. And what the banks did is that fiat currency and debt is tradable. So if I own you 100 Norwegian kroner, you can actually sell those 100 kroner to this guy for 99 kroner, you know. He will make a bargain. He earns 1 kroner. And he will, I have to pay to him instead. And so that makes currency, fiat currency, and debt basically the same. And what the banks did is that they took all this debt that they were using accumulating in the housing market in the USA, and they were chopping up the pieces and mixing it up with a little bit of car loans, and then mixing it up a little with credit card loans, and they would sell it to packages around the banks around the world. And what happened is that the housing market crashed. And then the market, just like you did in barter trading, where you have to do a fair guessing of if it was a good deal that you got, or like the Egyptians have to do when they were exchanging gold clumps, which was not pure, you did not know how heavy it was. The same thing happened with the banks, and they collapsed. And banks went bankrupt. So basically what happened is that if banks collapse, the whole economy goes down. So every time the banks fuck up, we have to rescue them. Otherwise, the economy will collapse. So this team, or person named Satoshi Nakamoto, they were basically fed up with this. Because it's not the first time in the history that the taxpayers have to rescue the banks. We have several big crashes during the history, and they actually go in cycles, and even world reserve currencies go over and goes to zero. I don't know, but we have the Dutch gulden, we have other currencies that basically has gone to zero. Even the British sterling has gone to zero. So fiat currency has a very bad habit of going to zero. There's actually, I don't know about one currency over the past 1,000 years that still is here today. If someone knows, just let me know. Every fiat currency that the central banks or government have made has gone to zero. Gold still preserves value. So regarding Bitcoin, it is from a technology point of view, it's not revolutionary what they have. They've just taken 3 technologies that have been battle tested for a long time and put into one package and made the Bitcoin protocol. There is something called a hashing algorithm, SHA-256. Basically, that is to take a fingerprint of data. So if I write, for example, Oslo or Jessheim, its post number is 2050, and every time I write in Jessheim and hash it, it will always get 2050. That is like the purpose of a hashing algorithm. It takes any amount of data and makes a fingerprint of it and makes it unique. And then we also have another technology, and that is something called time-stamped distributed ledger technology. Have anyone downloaded something from Pirate Bay sometimes? Of course, nobody has downloaded anything from Pirate Bay, but that is distributed data. So all the data is not stored in one place, it's distributed. So even though if India is out of internet, you can still download the same movie from Pirate Bay. The Bitcoin ledger works basically in the same way. You have a copy of all the transactions that has been happening since the beginning of Bitcoin. And it has every block that stores a bunch of transactions is stamped with a fingerprint and giving a number, aka time-stamped distributed ledger. So, and what is so cute is that if somebody tries to change a previous block, then he also has to change the fingerprint of every block forward. And when you have so many computers and so much computer power constantly, let's say, controlling the ledger, you have to have 51% more computer power over a very long time to change the history of transactions. And it's not economically feasible to do that. And even if you were stupid enough to secretly manufacture a lot of silicon chips that could create such computer power, it had to be secret, then you will probably could start it up, and maybe for one block, let's say 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you will be able to attack the blockchain, and all the other nodes will see that you have a bad actor in the network, and they will shut it out. So it's not feasible to do such a thing. And then Bitcoin also consists of something fancy called elliptic curve digital signature algorithm. I bet you nobody here knows what that is. But what I can say is that it's a way of making a signature that, for example, you own 1 Bitcoin. That Bitcoin lives on the blockchain, is not in your back pocket, wallet, or computer, or PC. On your PC, you have a key. And what elliptic curve signature does is that you can sign the transaction. Okay, I send my Bitcoin to Even. You will sign that transaction and prove that you are the owner. And then the miners, they can check to see if that signature is valid or not, without knowing which numbers or formula you signed it with. That's basically a easier way to say it. And by that, it means an elliptic curve. So basically you have some value over here, and it generates that data point here, and then you have a curve that is predictable, and you can use a computer and check it on the other end. And you don't need to know what data came in here, that signature, but you can prove it mathematically that is correct. So a Bitcoin transaction is mathematically verifiable to see. So we have it decentralized, it's digital, it's fast, it's since 14 years, it's never been hacked. We had some bad, rough days, but it had never been hacked. And I believe that the future of transferring wealth is going to be some sort of electronic. I'm not saying that it's going to be, maybe there's going to be a bright guy who's going to come up with something better than Bitcoin. But what we got today is the most secure and what stores your time when you trade your time for something of value. It stores your time over without getting diluted. Because Bitcoin is a protocol. It's not funded by some government. It's not funded by some religion or political party. Bitcoin doesn't care if there's a war in Ukraine. It doesn't care who's the president. So Bitcoin is only one digital currency. There are also other ones. When we talk about Bitcoin and the blockchain, we call that a layer 1 blockchain. But there are also some other blockchains that came up after it. Probably the most famous one is Ethereum. And the reason why it got so famous, it is because we all of a sudden have the option to make money programmable. We could program money. And the way we do that, the same way that on your computer you have a small software called calculator that you use to sum up a number, or maybe you have Adobe Photoshop, or maybe you have some computer games. On the blockchain, Ethereum has the option to make small programs where you can take a cryptocurrency and make it interact with the blockchain in a predictable and unhackable way. And what we get out of this is something called decentralized finance. So in a decentralized environment where there isn't any government that is deciding over it, I can have a lending protocol. Basically, all the people here, they can have their own token. And let's call it lend Even some money token for the person. So everybody here agrees that I will lend Even, let's say, something of money. And Even, he will provide guarantee for you in the smart contract that lives on the blockchain that you're going to get your money back. If he fails to pay you, you will get your money back. And you can also put interest on it, and the smart contract will, if he doesn't pay, the smart contract the program that lives on the blockchain, will decide that, no, Even didn't pay, he's liquidated. Here, guys, here you have your security. And you can do that with all kind of assets. And you also have, besides just sending something of value here and there, we have NFTs. That's basically a token that is unique. So all the other tokens I told you about, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they are fungible. It means they have the same value for me as they have for him, as it has for you. But an NFT is a non-fungible token. It's digital, but it's non-fungible. You can imagine that like an apartment. that you have a block with 4 apartments, and this apartment has black curtains, and one has a larger kitchen, and another one has a bathroom sink that is very fancy, and the other one has a hot tub. All those apartments might be of the same size, have the exact same amount of windows, but I think you fancy the one with the bathtub. So for that apartment will be more valuable for you. And when you want to sell it, you actually have to find a guy that is willing to pay a little bit extra for that niche or unique feature of the apartment. That makes it, and some people, they just see Bored Apes or some 16-year-old kid having a $2 million JPEG on the internet, but it's a non-fungible, collectible token, and we use it in many different types of occasions. For example, I have an NFT. Every time I go to London and I get invited to a party for this community, I will get access for free because I have this NFT. I'm a part of that community. Let's say the people in this room, you guys are unique. You're a fancy gang. You are the best at marketing, you know. You guys could make your own NFT, and basically, I'm trying to come up with something fancy here now. Because you all are working together on something, and Telenor wants a fancy marketing campaign, you can bring this to Telenor and show that we all in BI, for the marketing, we work together, we are joint effort, and therefore we can get better paid when you want a marketing campaign. And you can prove it digital as that you are owner, that you are part of it as well. Just to give you an example. How am I doing on time? Am I good or not? I'm doing actually very good. That must be the first time in history. What other things happen in the crypto space? So I've been mentioning NFTs, yeah. So the very fast thing is regarding this, what fascinates me the most is that you can make money programmable. We have a new store of value of money, not fiat currency. It cannot be diluted. It cannot be messed with. You have something that is preserved over time. And then, of course, a lot of fancy things comes up. For example, the NFT market. I told you here about this community NFT that we could have made here today. Or it can be a ticket to a concert. It can be a mathematically proof that you have actually attended here today. I could give out something, an NFT for you guys, that you have been here today. And it will be, when you show that to someone, and so show the smart contract that lives on the blockchain, that you have been here, it's mathematically proven. It's that I have given it to you. We are seeing concert tickets being looted. So like, okay, if you've been to 5 Justin Bieber concerts, you automatically will get a new one ticket, new for free. I've seen airlines company creating apps all the way back in 2019. They had this idea that if the plane gets delayed, it will automatically give you a refund. If you get stuck at the airport, it will automatically give you a coupon for an NFT, actually, a coupon for food. And it will just using fiat currencies on-off into crypto space and having that as an intermediary of store of value, and the airplane company could distribute that again out. It will only a Norwegian company would save between 750 million Norwegian to 1.3 billion Norwegian kroner a year, just in fees, intermediaries, as a global company. And that the reason why it happens is that there is no bank that can compete with 1,000 lines of code on the internet in a block. It's impossible. The bank has the venue they pay rent on. They have, like DNB, for example, has 15,000 employees. They need salary. All the products that DNB provides today can be on the blockchain, 100%. And there is even more products. And when it comes to competition, they cannot compete. They cannot. And then you also have another nifty side product, and that is, I mentioned inflation. And your time that has been exchanged for currency gets diluted. What we see in take for example Bitcoin. It has gained in purchase power. Okay, we very often refer it to dollars or norske kroner, but it has increased 280% in average the last 14 years. If you compare that with traditional, let's say you're saving in some fund, maybe you are taking a gamble on some stocks, there is no assets on this planet that can compete with Bitcoin. It's not even close. It's a horrible example. And we have some tokens. Even now there's a financial bear market, so it's not only cryptocurrencies that go down, but stocks, everything goes down because the way fiat currency gets manipulated by the government and central banks. We still have in the crypto space some tokens that do 10,000%. I have seen tokens that double in value during the last 7 days. So that's kind of funny, isn't it? If you have any stock that you know about on the traditional market that has doubled in value in the last 7 days, just let me know. So the only thing that needs to be adapted is the knowledge. I have just given you like the tip of the iceberg regarding this, and probably my horrible English have made it even worse to understand. But we have 10 minutes left, and if you have any question regarding crypto, blockchain, and stuff like that, please raise your hand, ask a question. I will, on my best effort, answer it. I've been here with this technology for 14 years now, and if I don't know the question you got by mind, I will certainly find out of it. And don't be scared. There is no stupid question, and it's actually, I just want to prevent someone from doing the same mistake that I did, buying a coffee cup for $360 million Norwegian kroner. So please ask.